All right, sometimes I get burnt out on making videos because it feels like I'm making the same video every day with lipstick, a different colored lipstick around that pig's mouth. And today I had the idea of how do you convince a minimum wage worker that the job isn't that bad, or letting corporations tell you to act your wage, which is basically guilt tripping you into doing free overtime. And then the final one that I came up, paycheck to paycheck jobs, and why do they exist? Because as I was watching you guys post in the comments of today's live stream, most of the people that come to this channel are poor people. And then there's the occasional person that comes to my channel and doesn't understand why all of these people are here, like exactly what happened in today's live. Is that you have a guy, it's like, who walks in and says, "Oh, the American dream is alive and well. I don't know what this guy's talking about." You're like, I've been poor my whole life. And I'm not going to just stop being poor because some guy says that the American dream is alive and well. Look at all these people in here. Do you think all these people are here because they have better things to do? No, they're here because someone can relate to their day-to-day story. Whether it's Jennifer having to go do DoorDash in her car with no AC, or it's Crickety Cricket who's worked in restaurants her whole adult life for tips, or Astra, who's been laid off repeatedly and is doing DoorDash as well. More and more regular people are being forced into temporary jobs, and I don't think that's the solution, at least not a long-term solution. If you need a couple of bucks, yes, do gig work. But if you're looking for a long-term strategy for getting ahead and retiring at a halfway decent age where you don't have to work until they put you in the grave like myself, well, there are no quick answers. There's no way that you can stop being poor today, and there are no steps that you can take to not be poor tomorrow. The wages in this country and the way that employment is treated in this country is barbaric. And for most people who don't make, and again, the simple equation says it all. If your rent isn't 20, I'm going to say even 15 to 20% of your monthly income, you're failing at life. And if you're like most people, your rent is encroaching on 80 to 90% of your income, like mine was when I worked at Insight a few years ago. That's how much of your income was going towards rent. And I wasn't renting a house. I wasn't renting my own apartment. I was renting a room inside of a 4-bedroom condo from a slumlord. But my wages were so poor that that's how much of my resources I had to invest into just paying monthly rent on a room with nothing else included. All right, let's get into our opening monologue. You ever notice how every starter job looks a lot like an end game? They tell you it's temporary, but temporary somehow stretches into years of fluorescent lights, name tags, and customers asking for discounts you can't even afford yourself. Capitalism sold us the idea of stepping stones, but most of us are just sinking in quicksand. Starter jobs, more like poverty subscriptions with automatic renewal. I just want to add this to this introduction. When I worked at Walmart, I don't think a single day went by when a customer wouldn't come up to me and try to negotiate on how much they wanted to pay for something, whether it was a gallon of milk or a bag of cookies. They're like, how about if I just give you this much? And you're like, do you really think I have the ability to give you an instant discount while I'm wearing this uniform and this goofy hat and this name tag that makes me feel like my dignity just went down the sides of my legs in this uniform? No. But people kept coming in and asking that same question. Also, the question was asked by nearly the same amount of people every single day. Well, do you have more of this in the back? And you look at them and then you look around and you're like, where do you think the back is? And they just, it's like they turn their brains off when they walk into a place where they're assuming that the person that's wearing that uniform is a brain dead piece of crap. And if you're wearing a uniform or you're making an unlivable wage, The people above you, the people around you, and the people who are your customers all think the same thing, that the reason that you're working there is because you are a piece of crap, you failed at life, and this is the best job that you could get. It's not the best job. For a lot of us, it's the only job. If you're a 40-year-old man that just lost his engineering job and no one's hiring for that particular type of engineering, whatever skill set that you have, and no one will hire you, eventually you become a victim of low paid wage jobs. And that job doesn't care because you're always going to be temporary. Very rarely are people in this country going to stay at a job for more than a few years. In fact, they almost force you into finding another job because whether you're working here or there, you are going to look for the maximum amount of money that you can get for this, for what you can bring. In fact, I've heard some of my coworkers tell me that at other McDonald's, there are workers who will take a better job on the floor above them, making hamburgers for Burger King instead of McDonald's. That's how bad it is out there. And I would say that the average stay of a low level worker is less than 6 months. When I worked in the call center, it was about 3 months. If you stayed 3 months, you'd make it 6 months. But if you didn't stay that much time, you weren't going to make it. Because I was talking to my friend the other day who worked in a call center for a year, and she told me that the only people that are still working there at that call center that she got fired from last July are the people who simply do not put their head up. They don't talk, they don't make waves, they just come to work, accept the tyranny of work, that they will tell you that you will work on the days that you will work. And for her, that didn't mesh. She wanted to be able to travel, to do things, to be able to take off from work whenever she wanted. And a call center is not about that life. If you're going to work at a call center, you have to realize that your life as a normal person is over because they have strange hours. They often do work on holidays. When I was working in that call center, it was one of the very few times in my life in which I had to work both Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. And most regular holidays were not paid days off. And so you were stuck in a place that thought that work was a dungeon and you were a prisoner doing a life sentence because you couldn't get something better. And for all of the people today in my live stream who told me the exact same story about these dead end jobs that they're currently working, that have been doing them oftentimes for years at a time or staying in the same industry, food service, for an extended amount of time. At least for me, when I got out of college, there was no one hiring for what I had to offer. And people keep asking me this question. It's like, why did you go to school to get liberal arts degrees? Because my plan was to stay in education. I never had any desire to work an ordinary job. I wanted to be a professor at the university, and I worked very, very, very hard to get to that end goal. Unfortunately, educational jobs are extremely hard to get. They're very competitive to get in a market that's oversaturated with people who have very much so, how do I put this? Their goal in life since they were born was to be in education. When you come from my background, there are no professors in my family. There are no teachers. Hell, there isn't a person that speaks English to any extent that you would consider proper English. I come from a family of losers. And for a person like myself to have that true ambition to want to go to school to become a professor, I kept trying, and the harder I pushed against the system, the more it seemed to fade away until I finally, my last grad school application didn't get accepted. And then I had to come out here and figure it out. And that's why I work at McDonald's. Because once you try to get a certain job and you just don't make it, you drown. And that's where I've been after college. I've been drowning, sinking deeper, deeper into debt, looking for work that's just never going to be any better than what I can currently get. I mean, the $20 job will hire you just as easily as the $14.75 an hour job. They all want to pay nothing. And if they get someone that's better than the next guy, well, they're going to take it since all workers are temporary. All right, let's get into talking point number one, since I've already wasted half of my talking on just the introduction. They call it a starter job, but somehow I've been starting for 5 years straight. Starter jobs don't start careers, they start ulcers, debt, and an Amazon cart full of things I'll never afford. It's like living in a Monopoly game where everyone else passes go and collects 200 while you're still stuck babysitting Boardwalk for $13 an hour. It's exactly how it feels. You're just stuck there. No matter where you go, the pay's exactly the same. Whether you're at In-N-Out Burger, you're next door at Starbucks, or you're across the street at Fry's, it all pays the same. And it's an equal opportunity systemic problem. Whether you're in high school, you lost your good job, or you're going through a midlife crisis, or you're in retirement, they all offer the same amount of money. I don't know how many elderly people I have seen working at Walmart in the past 6 months, but it's disgusting. Seeing someone who has a walker pushing a shopping cart shouldn't be allowed in our society. But as long as you apply, they'll take anyone to wear that uniform. And they don't care if you need money. They don't care if you can't afford to take this job. They will tell you once that you take that job that you applied to this job and that you needed the job. Well, you know what? I need the money. I don't need the job. That's really what it comes down to. Every worker in America that's not making it. We don't need jobs. We need money. And this is the only way to get money is to earn it in the slowest possible way. It's like someone was talking about this in the comment section about how much they hate drinking water and eating food. I hate it too. It's wasteful, it's stinky, and I hate feeling like a human Play-Doh machine every morning when I wake up. It's like, oh, it's time to digest whatever I ate for dinner last night. And there it goes. And every time I flush the toilet, I feel like I'm emptying out my wallet over the toilet as well. All right, moving on to talking point number two. Ever notice how they say you're just working your way up when really you're just working your way through exhaustion, through paycheck to paycheck, survival, through another month of praying your car doesn't break down. Poverty isn't temporary. It's a permanent infrastructure holding up the economy, and you're the duct tape. Sometimes you feel more like the duct tape than others. Those mornings in which you wake up, you look at the clock, you realize I've got 30 minutes to get to work. You have to sacrifice doing some of your personal hygiene stuff, which I hope you do not skip on the basics, people. Wipe your rear. Make sure you hit that body with a little soap. Wash your hair and brush your teeth. Don't do it for yourself. Do it for the people around you. I was talking to one of the hired McDonald's workers about this about 3 weeks ago, and they told me that the workers had to get together and submit a request because there was one worker that they had that was refusing to shower. And he smelled so bad that it was bothering anyone that was in his wake. When you work at Insight, that's the smell. As you walk down the aisles, ugh, gross. That taste of mucus is killing me. Anyhow, as you walk the aisles at Insight in the help desk area, it is nothing but feet, BO, and people who have given up at life. That's the smell in there. And when I asked the supervisor, why does everyone smell like that here? And it's like these people aren't the kind of people that believe in personal hygiene. These are people in here that have pretty much given up. And that's the smell of giving up is BO. And being the duct tape that holds things together is a very stinky duct tape because I don't know what it is with depression and sadness and feeling like a loser, but personal hygiene takes a back seat. You can no longer smell yourself at that point. You become such a loser that you can't smell under your own arm. This is why I ask Jennifer all the time when she comes into the live streams. It's like, Jennifer, it's time for a smell check. We got to make certain you didn't give up. And she's like, nope, I'm springtime fresh. She said it just a couple of hours ago. But it's hard to stay springtime fresh while she's out there doing DoorDash with no AC in her car. And she lives, I think, in the South somewhere. But shout out to Jennifer C for showing her dad about my channel. Any daughter that shows their dad the Millennial Steam channel loves their father. Anyhow, getting on to talking point number 3. They don't call it slavery anymore. They call it flexible scheduling. No chains, just rent and due on the first, and the gas price is on the rise. They dangle the word opportunity in your face while handing you a plastic name tag because if you believe you're free, you'll keep clocking in voluntarily. Congratulations, you're your own prison warden now. That's why I call my apartment complex Cell Block B. Because this is the prison release program, right? At 8 o'clock, you yourself, your warden, opens up your door to your cage, lets you go out into the world, make a non-livable wage, and then come back home, not a minute past 5:15. You better be back in your cage, sitting here in the dark, waiting for another release in the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. There's nothing else to life. There's no leisure. There's no fun. Someone actually asked me that in the comments today in the live stream. It's like, so what do you do for fun? What do you mean? Isn't fun called work? Because it seems like that's all we do. So that's, in my interpretation of the word fun equals work. And so I'm like, okay, well, work, fun, work. Not exactly certain how that works together, but I'm pretty certain that most pros have forgotten what fun is because you're supposed to be working 3 hours. Fun is no longer incorporated into your daily life. From the moment that Cell Block B releases you into the work release program, you're supposed to go out to some place that you don't like. You find your own surf city wherever you want, but it's not fun. No one goes to work these days and thinks, oh my God, I'm going to have such a good time today. No, it's the exact opposite. You're not having fun while you're smiling. And that's the most eerie part, is that constant reminder by your employer that a smile is part of your uniform when all you want to do is frown. Because you don't like what you do. You don't like stocking shelves. You don't like pushing shopping carts. You don't like walking around in a warehouse. You don't like washing cars. You don't like stacking things. You don't like being yelled at by someone who's basically a grown mentally or adult mentally ill child that still thinks that yelling at people is part of their job duties. Like, I remember when I was working at Walmart, a manager would come up to you and scream at you in the face for not doing the tiniest thing or looking like you don't want to be there. Find me a person that wants to be doing a menial job and actually wants to be there. Again, it comes down to one thing: the fear of not having something to eat. That's the only reason the proletariat comes back to work every day. And it will always be the only reason they come back to work. No one comes to work because they want to do a good job. In fact, the other day I had one of the other MIC workers say to me, hey, Millennial Steam, you're doing a bang up job. And I laughed. And she got mad at me. She got really mad at me. She's like, well, why didn't you just say thank you? It's like, because it's not true. And she's like, well, why do you feel that way? Because I'm reminded of it every single day. But you are doing a good job. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And she just like, at that point, I think she just hung up on me. But that happened. Why? Because that's the society we live in. We're all bad at our jobs. Why would anyone bother to get good at a temporary job with a temporary wage? That's what they never, ever correlate with one another. Temporary work with temporary paychecks, right? You can't have the McDonald's without the McPaycheck. You can't have the McHumiliation without the McUniform. It all goes hand in hand together. It fits into each other and it locks in. creating the dome of sadness. All right, let's close out real quick. So let's stop pretending these jobs were ever designed to start anything. They don't launch you upward, they lock you in place. Paycheck to paycheck, body breaking down, dreams shrinking by the hour, and the cruelest joke. They call it freedom of choice. When in reality, it's just a cage you decorate with discount candles from the very store you work at. If that isn't legalized slavery, then tell me, what else do you call it? Pretty dark. Wasn't expecting that ending at all. I mean, you think about what I started out with in when I was prompting it to build me something. Let's see. My first prompt was, let's see, let's scroll all the way to the top here. Okay, so the initial prompt here for me for ChatGPT is the paycheck job. Why does it still exist? And it came back and it said most low wage jobs aren't about helping workers thrive. They're about squeezing labor costs. From there, we kept breaking it down, breaking it down, breaking it down more, breaking it down more, breaking it down with titles, breaking it down until what you guys just heard. But that's where it stopped. And at the bottom, it says, so let's stop pretending these jobs were ever designed to fix anything. And then it says mic drop at that point. I don't know, you guys. ChatGPT is a strange animal. But that's what the video is going to be today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.